On a very beautiful September day in Rome, I want to show you something which is kind of unexpected, even unexpected for me, here in this Basilica Maria degli Allievi Martiri. And there,
well, I don't get my full wage today, so
I show you this. Very, very unexpected what you would find in a church. It's not what you would expect here, and it's a very beautiful church. Look at this, the hugeness, and I guess there's space for 1,000 people. But I was here yesterday at a mass, and there were maybe 10 people and maybe 100 people just sightseeing. 10 people for a regular mass with the priest held, while there's 100 people just doing sightseeing. And what I want to show you here is kind of unexpected. And this is this little exhibition about Galilei's great discoveries. And it's about relativity, but really it's more about certainty. And he was the father of modern physics by really discovering one thing. He made an experiment, or not, he started not with an experiment. He saw a chandelier moving and he observed that it was moving with his heartbeat. So it's like myself, he also had, starting with his heartbeat, some interesting discoveries. And so he went home and made a pendulum himself, and then he had pushed them at different speed. Actually, he eventually put two pendulums next to each other, like this one here, and you see they made a little clock here. It counts with this light beam the time between two movements. You see it's 41, but if I push this a little stronger, so you will see it's moving much faster now, but still it's 41. So the time between for each period remains the same. And this is something probably most people don't even know what was the invention of Galileo, nor do they even believe that two swings of the same pendulum take the same time lengths, no matter how far you push them, within certain limits, of course. But he found this to be true, which is kind of against our common sense, because you think when you push something harder, it swings, the swing is shorter. But no, if you take the same length and the same weight, the same pendulum, and push it stronger or more lightly, the time is the same. So you see it's the same, 41, and it stays the same. Even it slows down, but the time period is the same. So this was the beginning of an idea of a clockwork that remains the same no matter how strong you push it. But it was only 100 years later that Huygens actually came up with the idea to make a clock from this. Imagine 100 years later, and even Newton was 100 years later. So not Newton as the father of physics, but really it was Galileo. And also it was a man of great religious piety. His two daughters went to the convent, and he really got into trouble, because not so much because of his theories, but because of his very kind of argumentative or aggressive nature. He was actually a friend of the Pope at that time, or the Pope was a friend of him. And so it was a clash of, not really of ideas, it was a clash of his nature with certain politics of the Vatican that eventually led him to be under house arrest for the last 10 years of his life. But fortunately or unfortunately, this was really the most creative time of his life. So he wrote the most important works, his two most important works while being under house arrest. So in a way, we can thank the Pope or the Inquisition for creating time for him to add to science, and all this in this beautiful, amazing, beautiful church. And so much from Galileo, and I see he started about 500 years ago. It's the idea of science, the science of reproducibility, and mostly reproducibility of time, of measurement. And now, after 500 years, I think we will have to see that this idea about reproducibility, about measurement, has come to a state of being crystallized. And now the next phase, which I predict, is the science not of reproducibility, but of the science of the unpredictable, of the random. So interesting about this. What you see, it's the Maltese cross. So it's all coming together. And there was never really a fight between the inner parts of the church and Galileo. As I said, he was a friend of the Pope, but it was a question of politics at a certain point. Galileo had found was what all science after him tried to find. Those parts in nature, those things that are independent of transformation. And so he found the frequency in a pendulum is independent of how much you deviated from its resting position. And then later came Newton, who found the impulse is something that's independent of transformation. And later, actually, Robert Meyer, a medical doctor, found the concept of energy that's independent of transformation. So really what those people try is to have something that they can rely on, that nature is based on the fundamental building block. And so really what they want is a replacement for the concept of God, the unchanging, that which does not change in transformation. And really what Galileo found was kind of, again, not really easy for common sense, like how much you deviate a pendulum from its resting position does not matter for its frequency. So that's contrary to our common sense. You think if you deviate it further, it swings faster, the frequency is higher, but it's not. If you deviate it just a little bit from the resting position, it swings very slowly. So it makes the same frequency like if you deviate it very far. And this is really a very great analogy to when you have one connection, like a true pendulum has only one connection to the fulcrum, to its center point, then you have something that's your own, that's your unique own frequency. But most people don't have this anymore. They're being drawn here and there. They have to revolve around so many different concepts and attractions. So they are not anymore having their own frequency that's independent on how much something drags you from your resting position, from your center position. And so it's a great analogy to what I'm trying to teach. Once you have this connection to yourself, once you have this connection to your center, you can be wherever you are. In this church talking about something on the video, and it does not change your sense of self, your eigen frequency. I know this is the solution. This is the center, and can be the center of everybody's life. That's what you're really looking for. So much from Rome, from this church here, another church.